Hey guys, in this video I'm going to go over my review of the Italeri German elite troops. They are 172 scale. There are 48 of them that come in this box. They are supplied unpainted on sprue. I bought this box used, so it's pretty rough. It's seen better days. But I was going through it, looking at it, just kind of getting a sense for what's different from this box than the U.S. Paratrooper box, and overall really not much other than that there's this graphic seal here that says War Games Approved, and there's like some minor things, like there's an inclusion of a QR code, the 8+ years and older recommendation, and they changed the language for the layout to be English first, which is Italian first in the other box. They also added a little graphic here to suggest their own colors for use in painting. And overall, the graphics are very similar. It's got this white background with an illustration of two different types of troops and the little number icons that correlate to the paint colors below, as well as an outline of what is essentially the scale of the miniatures, the outlines. The box overall itself, I mean, it's pretty awesome. I think it's got this great work again by Giuseppe Rava, whose website I'll link in the description. And there's really not a ton to say about it other than I think this is a pretty inspiring box art, as well as the U.S. Paratrooper box, just to compare them side by side real quickly. I think they look great side by side. It almost looks like they could be two halves of a battle scene going on. Obviously they're in different environments, but the way that the U.S. troops are all facing right and the Germans are all facing left is pretty cool. You can set that up on a shelf and it looks like they're both at each other's doorstep, which is kind of fun. So again, just comparing the two, this box is newer but older because this box was arrived brand new in plastic packaging, and this was bought this used off eBay from a seller, and it still has this the remnants of what was a price tag here. Looks like this didn't have a plastic seal on it whenever they bought it, and the one that I had did. Yeah, with that being said, I think it's pretty much straightforward, and I can get into the actual figures. So here off to the side, I have what comes in the box. You get 3 sprues with 17 figures each, or 16 figures each, I'm sorry, and that totals the 48 figures that you get in the box. I believe one of the figures, these mortar stands actually count as one of the figures. So we've got all the figures laid out very nicely. I mean, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And then I believe I don't think they count this little mortar stand as a figure, but that would bring it up to 17. Yeah, so 16 times 3 is 48. 48 figures, it's 1 sprue, duplicated 3 times. And what I've done here is I've removed all of the little nubs from this sprue so we can take a look at the figures and get a better sense of their silhouette without me having to fumble through and remove them all in real time. But yeah, going left to right, we've got the officer of this sprue, some similar standing poses to multiple infantrymen with different rifles and different uniforms. The long coats mixed with the jackets, smocks, and pants. A running pose, a soldier leaning up against a brick wall with a machine gun mounted on top. Another running pose, no bayonet fixed. This one has the bayonet on it. His helmet, some of them have the smoother flat helmets, and others have more textured helmets with what I believe are just camo covers, which you can see in the photos again. So you kind of get that sense that there is fabric wrapped around the helmet in some of these more than others. You can kind of see the folds and indentations there, which is cool. And then this guy seems to be, without that cover. It looks a bit smoother to me. So there's a good variety in the sense of the weapon loadouts, the uniforms, the poses. This guy dropping a mortar into or a mortar round into the actual mortar casing. This guy with the bazooka is awesome. There's a lot of detail on that bazooka. I'm going to call it a bazooka. I believe these are just Panzerfausts, but this might be considered something else. Let me know in the comments what this is really called, because I'm not sure the specifics of every gun from this era. Here's the actual Panzerfaust. This might just be, I don't know. Let me know. I'm not sure. Here's another guy kneeling down with a machine gun. It looks like he's on top of a box of some sort. I don't know what that's supposed to be necessarily. Looks like stacks of wood. And then a guy kneeling down with the MG, which is pretty cool. Very, very fast, mobile assault unit here. The backs of the figures, you can get a sense for all the detail. What's nice about these, which I actually was thinking about when I was reviewing the U.S. paratroopers, is all the U.S. paratroopers are attached to the sprues at the helmets. So when you clip off the helmet, you get like these bald spots and you lose that texture. Remove this bit of dog hair. And in this sprue, which I mean, it got a copyright of 7 years after the fact, so this is 2014 production. They attach them all to the shoulder or to the armpit, which is perfect. I think that's awesome because you're not ruining the helmets at all. You're just sort of attaching it to these broader flat expanses of the uniform, and that's a lot easier to clean up and looks a lot better as a final painted product. You don't have to smooth it out as much. So that's cool. So I mean, these have such great high quality detail, and I'm really excited to get in and paint them and try to apply the dotted camo pattern. Even, I mean, it's going to take time to really do it right, but just like with the U.S. Paratroopers box set, I'll do a demonstration video on how I paint one of them. I'll probably do a couple. Since the U.S. Paratroopers all pretty much have the same uniforms, they're very quick to paint up with simple dry brushing. And these have dotted camos. They have dotted camo jackets and pant variants. But it looks like there's a lot. If we just look at the background here, or the back of the box, it's showing a lot of these long coats that are draping down below the smocks, and the pants are like a dark gray. They call it a flat gunship gray. That's the Italeri brand paint name, but I mean, there's like probably dark blue gray would work from Vallejo. That's probably what I'll use. And then we've got flat wood. What do they have in the helmet here? They have flat field drab, flat sand, flat medium green, flat dark tan. And then on this guy's it's the same thing, except the variety changes. It seems like this guy is more of the browns predominant in, like the brown is dominant in his jacket and the green is dominant in his jacket. So there seems to be a bit of a choose your own adventure in how you apply these things, but overall you can kind of get a sense for it. I've seen the same variations on the pants as well, and it looks like in this box art there are some versions where the jackets don't have camo at all, so I could even do that as another variant. But again, this is the box art, which I'm sure takes a little bit of creative liberty, and from what I've seen online and what I've seen other painters do is you can have the pants, jackets swapped in any of these color combinations. So I'm looking forward to trying that out. I think from the painting perspective, all I'm going to do really is start with the different base coats and then apply the speckled dots of the alternate colors on top. So this is a predominantly brown coat with the green, tan, and dark brown dotting pattern. And then this is a more of a camo green with specks of, it looks like it has some brown larger shapes, and then that's dotted with green shapes. So that's something I have to dive in and really experiment with. But that's how I understand this, is the brown predominant and then the green predominant. But this doesn't have the tan that this one has, or the variations in brown dots or green dots, and it's more, it almost looks like the green is outlined in black in this version. So that's cool. I'll do some more research when I paint these to learn the names. I don't believe these are Liebermuster camouflage. I believe that is the other version with it has more black running through it. It almost looks like tree branches. So this gets me excited to want to paint these guys. What I'll do next is I'll clip these all out and get them set up so we can just observe them individually as silhouettes, and I'll get them into a nice little family photo pose and give you my final thoughts, and we'll talk about what's next for these guys. Okay, here they are. Here are the Germans. Overall, pretty impressed with the quality. I took a closer look at them as I was cleaning them up, and there are still mold lines that are really hard to clean up at this scale, I think. Get a zoom in here. Some of them have them right down the faces. Some of this guy has it down his neck. Getting even closer. And these become very difficult to clean up at this scale. Even with a very sharp X-Acto knife, you have to be very careful and take your time. So for somebody like this, I might do like a real detailed cleanup because he's the officer. But for another guy and those are a lot more difficult to clean up because it's hard to, you basically have to re-sculpt the face at that point. And if you go, because you can very easily go too deep when you're cleaning up those mold lines. So for me personally, from a painter's perspective, I'll do my best. Like that's pretty substantial. You can see it better at this line, at this detail. Like I can bring that down with an X-Acto knife a little bit and trim it up, but it's going to be really hard to get perfect unless I want to spend a lot of time making the details, pristine. And I think I'd rather just, work on the camouflage painting and get it to a good tabletop standard. But I think maybe spending a bit more time on the officer and cleaning him up is worth the effort since he has nothing, no mold lines on his face that are too egregious. So yeah, that guy I just showed you, he's definitely one of the worst offenders with the mold line going down the face. But let's look at another guy who's standing. So he has almost nothing, right? He's cleaned up pretty good, straight off of the sprue. Very minimal. Picked up a lot of fibers when I was cleaning this. So he would be better to spend more time on than this guy because the cleanup time would be less. Yeah, let's look at the sniper real quick too. The sniper's pretty good. He has a little bit of like the face where that meets the helmet is starting to come together a little bit, but not too severely. The gun itself is like a little bent, but that's easy to fix with a little bending back and overcompensating. And yeah, the details are high. It looks really good. It's a nice clean production mold. Looks awesome. And thankfully the iPhone 14 Pro that I use, the camera really helps with the macro setting. It's got this third camera lens that lets me get in real close so I can see even more detail than my eyes can see. Looking again at the detail on this guy with the RPG, the bazooka. I have to clean up some of the flashing that still needs to be scraped off. And this guy was the only guy who was attached by his helmet. He was attached by his helmet, the bazooka in the back, and his base down here. I did my best to kind of give the bases a quick scraping. And then one of the things, again, with like stuff like this, this is pointed out with my pencil. There's like a big connecting flash piece here, and those are very awkward to paint. Like I never know what to do with it. In this instance, I'll probably just make it the same color as the camouflage, but you can see the details blend away. They just sort of smear away in this flash connecting point. This guy does not have that. He's actually got a hole here, but he does have a lot of connecting points here. Like there's no separation between the cloth of the arm sleeve and the chest of the smock jacket that he's wearing. So a few of them are like that. But I think some of the best guys are the ones that are just standing upright. They're the simplest poses, but they're they look the cleanest. He's got a little bit of that mold line going down his face, but it's minimal compared to that first guy I showed you. The guy with the brick wall, he looks pretty good. And the one who's kneeling against that with the box, again, a lot of like weird flat pieces with no definition in here and here and here. This guy has a lot more definition than this one. Something about having an arm crossed over the chest that the molding process has a hard time with. I don't know if there's even the detail sculpted at this angle, and that's just how it comes out flat, or if it's something that is a result of pulling it out of the production machine. There's also some flash going down his leg, but nothing too. Let's see. He does look like he has two different faces. The way the mold sort of shifted down the center, so the top part of his helmet like rises on one side. So that would take a little bit of scraping down, but he's probably not somebody I would really even bother cleaning up. And again, these are for wargaming at this scale. I think it's kind of assumed that they're not going to be perfect pristine, but I do like to practice my painting on little guys like these now, because that I had a good amount of fun painting the 172 US paratroopers. They're an interesting challenge to work that small. The trick is not to overwork them. Okay, let's go over my final thoughts for the 172 scale German elite infantry by Italeri. From a painter's perspective, I really like the quality of details, the variety in poses, and the plastic material. Considering their tiny scale, Italeri have managed to create proportional figures that look authentic to their place in history. The majority of the poses look very natural, and there's a lot of variety in both the soldiers' uniforms and their weapons. The plastic looks and feels similar to the US paratrooper set I reviewed, and that should be a good indication that after I wash them, they should hold primer and paint very nicely. The only real issue I noticed during this review was the lack of detail in some crossbody poses, as well as minor mold lines that occasionally run down the center of the figure's face. In the worst examples of this, the faces did look lopsided and the helmets uneven due to the way they were produced. But of the 16 sculpts, there were only 2 or 3 of the figures that really suffered from this quality issue. Overall, I think these figures are really great, and I'm looking forward to picking up more from Italeri in the future to review and paint up. Thank you for watching, and please let me know in the comments what you'd like to see me review and paint up in the future. Take care.